Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Rand Timmerman. He is a retired attorney and Marine combat veteran, and we'll learn from him about his Appalachian trail journey at the age of 72 while overcoming grief and addiction. We'll also learn how his arduous journey became a profound message, a spiritual passage. We'll learn transformative lessons on preparation, perseverance, and finding purpose at any age that can inspire you to tackle your biggest challenges. Welcome to the show, Rand.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Rand. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about about overcoming addiction, overcoming age. People can find that as a barrier, and also the Appalachian that we talk 2,200-mile Appalachian Trail at the age of 22. We'll learn all about this. But before that, let's learn a bit about your journey, your background, your story, Rand, so that the audience knows who they are listening to.
Thank you. Yes, I grew up in Adams, New York, a very rural place, very poor place, and was in college, but I was not doing very well and working a lot and not making progress. So I enlisted in the United States Marine Corps and went to Vietnam with the 1st Marine Division, and I served our country for 13 months. It was pretty traumatic, a lot of it. And my brother did the same, only he was in the Army. We were 1 year apart. And came back. I actually ended up being an officer in the Marine Corps and went to the JAG school, and I became a legal officer. And that inspired me to become an attorney. And after I got out of the Marine Corps, I was married, had 1 child. I ended up with 4 daughters. And I got my degrees and I went out on my own and practiced law. I knew that alcohol might be a problem for me the first time I drank it at 13. My brother was a very religious, spiritual man. I was not. And when he came home, he married our mother's best friend, who was 14 years older, and she had 7 kids. And they moved to Utah and became Mormons. Church of Latter-day Saints, very good spiritual program, and had a great life. Edie had a massive stroke and got worse, not better. My brother took care of her by himself. And when she passed in 2017, she left my brother with 27 grandchildren and 27 great-grandchildren. But the pain from the grief was so bad that he was really struck. He did not lose faith in a higher power in his spiritual path, but the pain was so great. I went to see him in January of 2018 and asked him what he was going to do, and he said he was going to walk the Appalachian Trail, which I thought was insane because I had hiked parts of it in the Smoky Mountains. And I asked him when. He said March 22nd. So March 22nd of 2018, I was 72. He was 71. We were in Springer Mountain in a snowstorm, starting to hike the longest footpath-only trail in the whole world. And that's how that came about. I was 4 years sober at that time, AJ. So
absolutely.
The Appalachian Trail is really an amazing thing. Not only is it 2,200 miles long, but it has 500,000 feet of elevation changes, and it goes over 600 mountains. It is incredibly difficult. About 3 million people every year hike a part of it. About 3,000, somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000 people actually try to hike the whole thing. And of that, about 17% make it, which we're talking about like 450, 500 people. It is a challenge. It's the hardest thing I ever did when nobody was shooting at me. So anyway, that's how that came about.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well put. It was the hardest thing you did when nobody was shooting at you, Rand. So, for people who are not, part of that with that world, somebody sitting in India, how you want them to understand about the Appalachian Trail? Why do people go for it? What is it that they seek for themselves in this trail? Is this difficult trail, Rand?
I think a lot of people that try, most of them are way younger than we were, for sure. I mean, my brother and I are pretty much the oldest people out there. They all seem to have difficulties in their life, and they seek this communion with nature, hoping that it will put them in a better place. But it is extremely difficult. Within the first week, when we started out, there was thousands of people, right? The trail would be pretty crowded at times. But then you would come to, there's dirt roads crossing the trail every 10 to 15 miles for the most part. The Smoky Mountains, there's a couple 35-mile sections, no roads. The Priest, there's a 35. There's other sections where you have to hike the whole thing with a full pack. And we would come to a road and there'd be, a hiker would be sitting there on their phone crying, "I just called my mother. I can't do this anymore. I'm going to go home." And you could just see the sadness and the despair on their faces, that they thought that this would be a challenge that would help them get better, and then they found it too difficult. But I'm hoping that our book will inspire people to, I'm not trying to inspire old people to go hike the Appalachian Trail. That's probably not a good idea. But to inspire people to understand it, we can do a lot more than we think we can do, especially as we get older. I have a lot of friends that have, passed, and a lot of them are sitting on their couch waiting to die. You don't have to do that. You can have a really good life. But I wrote a book about it. It's called A Spiritual Passage. I called it that because I am a recovered alcoholic. If I had not recovered from the disease of alcoholism, I wouldn't have been able to be there for my brother. I have no idea what would have happened. And so that was a particular joy. And I actually did a meeting every day in my head while I was hiking the trail, and I would talk to guys that I was helping in recovery, just to, continue that on too. I'm very involved in a recovery program, and I work with guys every day to help them on their sober journey. And I wrote a book about the hike called A Spiritual Passage. It's a journal format. And then in the book, I also describe my recovery program, stage by stage, how I went. And then my brother's, his spiritual journey. We had some amazing experiences on the trail. I mean, just unbelievable things that happened. Some of them were funny. AJ, I can give you a quick one. In June of 2018, we were, I think we were in Virginia, and so I'm hiking. We always left really early in the morning, so a lot of times I'd be alone. And a lot of the people didn't get started till 8, 9, 10 o'clock. But we always left right at daybreak. Sometimes we would leave in the dark, actually. And so I'm climbing a mountain. It's called Hogback Mountain. And I hear hikers coming up behind me, so I kind of pull over and look back. And there's a guy by the name of Growler. I've seen him a few days with his girlfriend, Coors Light. We all had trail names, right? And another lady, and they are naked. They have no clothes on. And Growler is this great big Paul Bunyan kind of guy, like in his 30s, full beard. I mean, he looks like a mountain man, right? And he says to me, "Today's Naked Day on the trail, Rambo." That was my trail name. "So you don't have to wear any clothes." And I looked at him. I said, "Well, Growler, I'm going to do everybody a favor and keep mine on." So I let them go by me, and they're going up the trail. We're climbing Hogback Mountain, and the two ladies are in front of Growler. So, and he's a pretty hairy man, right? So I'm walking behind, and I decided I'm just going to wait until they get way ahead of me. And by the time I got up to the top of the mountain, they had their clothes back on. That was kind of funny. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Rand, if I understand, you went there for your brother. What was there for you? How did you differentiate this two part of the same journey that you undertook with your brother?
What, being on the trail with Ronnie?
Yes.
Uh, well, I knew it was very dangerous, and I did not want him to go alone. And because of our age, we could not possibly hike every day with a full pack. And then, so what we ended up doing was we took 2 vehicles. And so we basically hiked like day hikers. We had 2 vehicles. There are roads crossing every 10 to 15 miles. We parked on the Appalachian. I like to brag that I slept in a tent on the Appalachian Trail every night. I did, but a lot of times my truck was right there. So we had the ability to supply ourselves and so forth. Normally I would carry about a 20-pound pack with 2 great big water bottles, first aid kit, some supplies. A lot of the hikers did not carry enough water. And when you're hiking all day long in the top of the mountains, water is very precious commodity. So I always carried extra water to help people out, gave away some water purifiers and things like that. And I hiked the Appalachian Trail with the idea that I was never going to walk this way again. So I took I took over 5,000 pictures. Ronnie was of the mindset of just, I'm going to do this. He was trying to mask the pain, the emotional pain of the loss of his wife with the physical pain of hiking the trail, quite honestly. And so what would happen is in the morning we would get up, I would start out going north. Ronnie would drive around, go up to the next road on the trail, and he would walk south, and we would meet in the middle, and then usually have lunch real quick, and then he would go down, get my truck, drive around. I would end up where his vehicle was, and we would just stay there for the night. So that's kind of how we did it for the most part. And we averaged 11 miles a day in the mountains. That's incredible. About the fastest you can go is 1.5 miles. Maybe if it's kind of flat, 2 miles an hour, but more. So normally we would be hiking, 8, 9 hours. And oh my God, I could tell you so many stories. Bears. A lot of the hikers would, if you went to the shelter, which I went to all the shelters to log in, AJ, I just kind of wanted to make sure everybody knew we were there. And actually it was kind of fun because then we would see notes from other people. Yeah, we saw Rambo yesterday, and we saw Ronnie's trail name was Attitude Indicator, which is an aircraft instrument. He became a commercial airline pilot. And so we would do that. And I forgot what I was going to say, actually. And I had an artificial knee and no medial meniscus or anterior cruciate ligaments in my right knee. So I limped. And Ronnie's son, Rick, hiked with us for a couple of weeks in the beginning. He took a video of me, which I happened to see afterwards. I couldn't believe, who is this man out there limping and oh, that's me. I couldn't believe how bad it looked on a video. So I like to brag, I probably was the oldest, limpiest man to ever walk the Appalachian Trail. So,
absolutely, yeah. Rand. So what was the most spiritual part of the journey, Rand?
For me? In the Smoky Mountains, when we did the Smoky Mountains, it was terrible weather. It was rainy and the wind was high. And I ran into some military guys, Army helicopter pilots, and at a shelter and hung out with them one day. That was kind of cool because we were talking about, I was a machine gunner on a helicopter in Vietnam for a while, so we related and stuff. The weather was bad. The shelter was packed. I decided to go to a place on the map that was called False Gap. And it was properly named because when I got there, there was no gap. It was basically a little, normally a gap would be you'd come down a mountain and there'd be a flat part, and then you go up the next mountain, and it was usually flat, wide open, places you could pitch your tent, get water, all that kind of stuff. This place was just a little dip in the trail, and the sides of the trail was about 12 to 20 feet wide, and it dropped straight down hundreds of feet. I pitched my tent right in the middle of the trail because I had no choice. It was almost dark. I took a leak, and when I'm doing that, I'm looking down, and I realize there's a tree way down below me behind me. I'm like, oh my God. Well, in the middle of the night, the winds just became horrific, and it sounded like freight trains were coming up from the south of up the ridge. And sometimes they would go to my right and to my left, and then they would be coming right at me. And I was hanging out for dear life. I thought I was gone. I was going to be dead. And I prayed to God. I said, I've been a pretty good guy here the last few years. I've stayed sober. I'm helping other people. I really don't want to go right now, but if this is what your plan is for me, I will accept it. And it was horrifying. And my brother asked me the next day, he said, well, were you holding on to the rods? Because I had a tent that was, rated for Mount Everest. It was rated for high winds. But the problem was if it blew off the mountain, you're not going to do you any good. So I said, no, I was stretched out as far as I could. I had my hands on the stakes on one end of the tent, and I had my feet on top of the stakes on the other end, hoping to God that they did not break loose, because if they did, I was gone for sure. And finally, just before daylight, the wind stopped. The freight train stopped. I mean, it literally sounded like a freight train. And I was talking in the morning. I would turn my phone on. I had talked to a couple of guys that I was helping in sobriety in their program. And one of them said, oh, man, Rand, I was so worried about you. And so, yeah, I was kind of bad. But he said, yeah, there was tornadoes where you were, according to the weather. I said, well, I didn't see tornadoes, but that would have been the end of it for sure. So I just felt like God was taking care of me, my higher power, the one that got me sober. See, I couldn't get sober without a higher power. I tried, it didn't work. And I ended up in hospitals on suicide watch, wondering what had happened to my life and why I had become such a terrible drunk. A lot of people don't realize that alcoholism is a disease. It was determined to be a disease by the American Medical Association in 1956. And the reason I thought it was a moral failing on my part. Why can't you? So for many years, it was not a problem. Most of my adult life, it was not a problem. Did I drink excessively at times? Absolutely. But I didn't have any real consequences, and I kind of controlled it, I thought, for the most part. But then at the end, it just owned me. I could not stop. And what I didn't realize is that acetone, alcoholics metabolize alcohol differently, and their bodies create acetone. A normal drinker doesn't get that. Acetone is what creates that obsession and that in your body that makes you drink. I would start drinking, and I'd be 2 days later, I'm out of my mind, and I'm thirstier than I was when I started. And that's caused by that excess of acetone. So anyway, today we know that there's a medical, there's a reason for it. It is in fact a disease. It's not a moral shortcoming. If you are a real alcoholic, you are screwed unless you can make a connection with something greater than yourself, because you are powerless over alcohol. That's what I learned. And I had a very good man teach me that and take me through what we call the steps. And I became a different man. I'm not the guy I was. And that's why I was able to be there for my brother. And he was there for me too. My brother had some amazing experiences on the trail. He was having a really bad day one day. It was dark. Really dark. It was so dark in the middle of the morning, it felt like we should have our headlights on our heads. And it was Father's Day in 2018. And Ronnie was, I don't know, for whatever reason, he was really bad spot emotionally, thinking about Edie, his wife. And he came around a corner, and it was the only light that we saw that day, that he saw. And it's in the book. There's a picture of it. And it looks like something is standing in the light saying, you're okay. It's going to be all right. You can call it Jesus Christ. You can call it whatever you want. But my brother, at first he was afraid, like, oh my God, what's going on? And then he walked towards the light and he realized he felt like Edie was there with him, had sent him a message. It's going to be okay. You'll be okay. And that inspired him. And we had some other situations that, it was difficult. The pain was unbelievable. I would get done in the afternoon, usually late. And I fell down every day. A lot of times it was in the afternoon because one foot would hit the other foot because I'd be kind of staggering around because I was so fatigued. I broke 4 ski poles, or hiking poles, I should say. And we would get done and we would eat, and I had to crawl into my tent. I'm like, there's no way I can do this again tomorrow. And say my prayers, go to bed. Next morning, wake up, and I was ready to go. Another day, one step at a time. That's why the book says one step at a time. That was kind of my mantra for sure, just one step at a time. So I hope I'm not rambling too much here.
Not at all. Not at all, Brian. So who is this book for? A spiritual passage?
Well, if you are struggling with an addiction, I went into a lot of detail of how we call them sponsors, took me through the steps. It's an anonymous program, so I can't really say what the name is, and how that worked for me, because I totally failed trying to do it on my own. So it could be used as a way of inspiring people that are struggling with any kind of addiction. Okay, if I do certain things and practice these things, I don't have to use that substance anymore. I have to drink that drink anymore. I can have a good life, and I can become the man that my higher power always wanted me to be. It's mostly the spiritual part of it. It can be whatever. God can be whatever you want it to be. But we have to accept the fact, left to ourselves, we cannot master this disease. And in fact, I found that it made me a much better person because we worked on some other issues that I had. They're called character defects. Pride, anger, lust, sloth, envy, greed, and gluttony, the big 7. And also I know for a fact that I've given away more books than I've sold so far. A lot of times it's been to people say, I know somebody who's really struggling with depression or, whatever it is, or they're older and they're starting to feel like they can't do anything, life sucks, et cetera, et cetera. And then it's come back to me that they read the book and they felt like they could have a better life. And that's really what I'm hoping, that people will be inspired, not to hike the Appalachian Trail, but just the fact that we can have these journeys. You can pick your own journey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So why people are not able to, deal with this aging dilemma, as you call it, aging journey, as we should call it? Why is it that people find it a dilemma and not a part of the journey that is lifetime? Why is it like that? You undertook a journey at 72. Why can't people, look at aging as just another number? Yes, Rand, are you there? Hello. Rand will be back anytime. Looks like there is some internet issue, but let's wait on. Maybe at my end also it could be, or anywhere else. So let me see where it is. Okay. Yes. And we'll just wait for Rand to be back. Meantime. Okay, we'll wait for some more time. Looks like there is indeed some internet connection at the guest end, but we'll wait for some more time. Hopefully, Rand should be back. So just waiting. Yes, Rand.
Okay, I don't know
Uh,
what happened.
it happens sometimes. So all technical issues, nobody has any control on that. So it's okay, no problem. So I wanted to understand the whole thing about the aging dilemma, as you call it. Why people who have had a difficult life, tough life, they are able to face everything else, but aging slightly brings dilemma, slightly brings up. Some people are a bit fearful about that too.
Right. I think it's all about our attitude. I'm 80 years old now. I still go to meetings every day and work with people and walk 7, 8 miles a day. And I look around at other people. I think it all has to do with our mental attitude and our spiritual place in the universe where we're at. And then I see people. I have a relative who's almost 100 years old. She is physically afflicted. But she still goes to family events. She's always got a big smile on her face. She may use oxygen occasionally. I mean, she enjoys her life. Every day is a gift. That was the thing I learned about the trail. Every day was a gift. What I did with it was up to me. If I come at it with an attitude of this is going to be a blessing and I'm going to see things, I'm going to walk on a path I've never walked on before. I probably will never walk on it again. I am going to enjoy this. I'm going to grow. I'm going to become a better man at the end of the day. So I think men and women, no matter how old you are, there are things you can do. There's all kinds of crafts. It's just a mindset, AJ. If you got a good mindset that you're going to make the best of every day and be full of gratitude and appreciate what you do have and not think about, oh my God, I might die today. I might die tomorrow. I might get this. I might get that. No, not good. So we have to have a positive attitude. I think it all has to do with attitude. And I'm hoping the book will help people say, you know what, this guy, I think he might know what he's talking about when it comes to how I should live my life. And be
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, right. So one last question I want to understand is how this trail impact you in terms of when earlier to that and after completing this trail, what was the transformation? Were your own lessons from this journey of yours?
I guess the biggest thing for me was that I did have an awareness that this was a kind of an unusual thing. And I had all these pictures and we had our journals and Ronnie was very good about where we went each day, how far and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, you know what, I could put this together in a story. If somebody could actually do the Appalachian Trail by reading my book and say, oh, okay, today I'm here, I'm going to go there, look at these pictures. And they can enjoy the journey even though they're in a wheelchair, right? They can experience something that they didn't think they could experience. So I did a book for the family and had it printed out and gave them all away. And then I ended up getting a publisher, Wildebeest Publishing, and we did it professionally. And I got great pleasure in writing the book. I re-experienced the whole thing. And my brother and I talk about it regularly, about how amazing it was that we got to do this. I mean, it's just incredible. very special.
Absolutely, very special indeed, Rand. So, in a nutshell, what would you want, uh, uh, the audience to learn from you, from your journey, from the young generation who are looking at the old age also, who are looking at transitions, aging, other sort of addiction, recovery? What is your message to all of them in a nutshell, Brad?
Don't isolate. Don't become a hermit. Don't wallow in self-pity. If you reach out to other people and do the very best you can and interrelate with other human beings and have some sense of your spiritual existence, then you can help other people and your life will become immeasurably better than what it could be. And that's what I do every day. I try to help other people. And then my pains and aches, which I have quite a few, they're not that important. They're pretty insignificant, really. And I really appreciate this opportunity. It's been special for me to be on your program and what you do. I'm very appreciative of that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you. So I want to understand. There's so much to learn from you as an individual, as somebody who has taken this arduous journey. Former Marine, and in terms of even in terms of a retired attorney, so much of wisdom of life, lived life, talk about life, written a book, 500 pictures. That's also a lot of things to learn from. What is it? A lot of people would want to connect with you. What is the best way for them to do so, Rand?
They can email me at rand.timmerman@gmail.com, and I have a website, randtimmerman.com. No dots or anything, just randtimmerman.com. And they can reach out to me that way. I'm not doing the social thing. I'm probably going to have to. I do have LinkedIn, but yeah. So those are the best ways to reach me, and I respond to everything. And anybody, I did a program with another host, and afterwards he started talking about his father's difficulties with alcohol, and I ended up autographing a book and sending it to his father. That was amazing. I actually talked to the host for an hour after we did the 30-minute podcast. So I will answer anybody who reaches out to me for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.